Hello and welcome to this session for GCSE German for the photocard description, question 2 of the oral examination. So, zweite Aufgabe der mündlichen Prüfung, ein Foto beschreiben und Fragen beantworten. Okay, so how to describe a photograph and answer questions on the theme in question. So let's begin by looking quickly at the summary of assessment for the GCSE exam for Unit 1. This is the speaking exam. So the oral test for the foundation tier runs between 7 and 9 minutes long, and the higher tier between 10 and 12 minutes. This is worth 25% of your qualification, and we are looking in this session predominantly at the photocard discussion, although part of this will also help you for your written examination as well, and also for the conversation element of the oral exam as well. So all of these assessments do intertwine, and preparing for one definitely helps you to prepare for others. So the speaking examinations will take place between Monday, the 8th of April and Friday, the 10th of May, 2024. Your teacher will be telling you in advance when your personal examination will take place. The format of the assessment is that you have a role play to begin with, the photocard discussion, which we're focusing on today, and then a two-part conversation. The photocard discussion usually takes for the foundation tier around 2 minutes to complete, and for the higher tier about 3 minutes. Let's also look then at the assessment grid, the mark scheme for the question for the foundation tier to begin with. So this question is out of 15. So 15 marks available. 10 of those are for communication and interaction, and the remaining 5 are for your linguistic knowledge and accuracy. So 10 for really what you're saying, and 5 marks for how you say it, how correct your language is. So in order to reach the highest marks for the foundation tier, you need to give relevant information. You are allowed to make the odd mistake, but obviously the more correct your answer, the more marks you're likely to gain. You do need to give your point of view, and you should really justify your opinions as well. The linguistic knowledge and accuracy, you're looking for a good level of accuracy, but as I said, the odd mistake is accepted, especially in the foundation tier. So we're not looking for absolute perfection, but a general good level of accuracy. And you will be required to use the past, present, and future tenses in your photocard description and in the answers to the questions which follow. For the higher tier then, again, 15 marks available. And as you would expect, you are asking really for the candidate to give more detailed information in comparison with the foundation tier. Extended responses are required to the photocard and also to the questions. Again, you are required to express and to justify your thoughts, to justify your opinions. So it's not good enough just to say, I think that. You do need to follow that up with a reason, which again is what I'm explained at the beginning, which will help towards your conversation and also towards your written exam as well. The linguistic knowledge and accuracy, then we are looking for the use of complex structures. We're looking at a higher level of accuracy compared to the foundation paper. And again, you will be required to speak in the past, the present, and in the future tense as well. So let's look quickly then at how we go about describing a photo to begin with. So wie beschreibt man ein Foto? So a few steps to go through. So please remember as well that you will have around 12 minutes preparation time with the exam paper, without a dictionary, but with pen and paper. So in your preparation time, obviously you will need to really study the photograph that you've been given for question 2. Look at the name of the topic indicated on the photo. Jot down any relevant vocabulary that you can think of. So what kind of people can you see? Can you name any of the places that are there, any activities which are happening, any colours maybe that are useful to describe, what are the people wearing, are there any adjectives to describe the feelings shown with the people, and any emotions that may be obvious as well. You could also use your own feelings and emotions regarding the picture as well, and we'll go into that in more detail during the session. So that's step one, so it's gathering the vocabulary that you will be required to use. Step two then is to think about how you can actually use those vocabulary pieces then to actually describe what you're seeing. So start with a general overview of the photo. What is it a photo of? So for example, you could begin that with "Es ist ein Foto von." So what is it a photograph of? Is it a group of people? Is it, I don't know, a supermarket? Is it a beach scene? Is it a photograph of a school? So what is it exactly a photograph of? Describe who you see, what people are there, how old maybe they might be, what are they wearing, any specific clothes, anything for a specific activity, where are they, and what are they doing? Okay, so that's describing what you see. Step three then would be to speculate about the scene as well. So try going from maybe what you can see to what you think is happening. So what kind of people are there and what do you think they're doing? So we're using verbs here more. So try drawing conclusions from any clues that there are in the photo. So for example, if there are people in the photo, and very rarely that there's a photograph with no people at all, but it does happen occasionally, but most of the time you will see at least one person, if not a group of people. What are they doing? Maybe why are they doing it? So this is the speculation element. How do you think they might be feeling? What might they have just done, maybe? Maybe think about what they are going to do. Okay, are they dressed in a specific way in order to do some activity? And remember to always justify your points. So I think they're about to do this because they are wearing that, for example. And then the final step is to just make sure that you are using the highest quality language that you can. So pay real attention to the quality of the language that you're using. Obviously, the higher the quality, the higher the mark that you will get, especially for those 5 marks for the accuracy element. So you need a wide range of relevant and sophisticated vocabulary, especially for the higher tier. You need detailed descriptions, you need carefully selected adjectives and opinions, and make sure that you justify those coherently using a broad range of grammatical structures, and we will be looking at some of those next. Okay, so you've probably seen things like what is on the screen now. So this is an example of a knowledge organizer for the photo card question. So in this knowledge organizer, you have sentences to start off. So for example, auf dem Bild, auf dem Foto, es gibt, ich sehe, man kann something sehen, das Foto zeigt. So what does the photograph show? So those are different ways to start a sentence to give a general overview of the photograph. But in order to gain those higher marks, try and be specific as well. So instead of saying there is a man, try saying where is the man? Is he in the foreground? Is he in the background, to the left, to the right? Is he close to something, or is he in front of something? So these are ways to increase your quality of language and to gain those marks for more sophisticated language. Okay. We will be looking at a way of remembering which order to use these sentences in, and to remember which element you need to be speaking about. So one of those will be to describe the weather. So is it sunny? Is it nice? Is it bad? Is it raining? Is it windy? Maybe try and think about which season the photograph might be taken in. So if there's snow on the ground, you could say it looks like it's winter. If people are on the beach and it looks sunny, you could say it looks like it's summer, for example. Okay, so you've got those structures for the weather there in the yellow box. So es ist sonnig, das Wetter ist schön, and so on. Middle then at the green, so what is exactly there? Okay, so is there a man or a woman? Are there a few people, lots of people? Is there a group? There are buildings maybe, trees, or you could use eine Szene von. So is it a scene of? So what? Is it a group of people, for example? To describe the people then that you've said that are there, you could say that he or she looks. So or sie sieht something aus. So you could put an adjective in there. So for example, if you said sieht glücklich aus. So he looks happy, for example. Yeah. Or you could use different adjectives to say that they're sad, traurig. You could say they're tired, müde. Any other adjectives you know to describe the mood of the people that you can see. In the pink box then, you've got the verbs that you could use. Remember to conjugate the verb with the corresponding ending. So spielt, for example. Sie streiten sich, and so forth. So that's the pink box there. Opinion phrases, really, really important. These are the ones that you're going to justify your opinion with. So you could say, ich glaube das, ich denke das, and so forth. And please, with those, with a comma das, that you're remembering to send the verb to the end of the clause. Okay, and when you're using this for your writing, don't forget the comma before das. Okay, and then remember to justify what you say as well. Why do you think that what you're saying that you're thinking? Why? For what reason? At the bottom then, you could always put your opinion on the photograph itself. So the purple box gives you an example of how to do that. So you could say, ich mag or ich liebe das Bild, comma, weil. So I'm saying the word comma to remind you for your written exercises that the comma goes before that, that clause. Or you could also say it negatively. That's fine. You can say that you don't like the picture as long as you say why. So ich mag das Bild nicht, or ich hasse. And then again, weil, to justify why you have the opinion that you have. Okay. You could say es. So what is it? Schön ist. Okay. So you've got an example there of a whole sentence where you would say ich mag das Bild, weil es schön ist. Okay, so a very simple structure to say why you like the picture using an adjective. The next knowledge organizer here is very similar, but it does give us for the first time this way of remembering what exactly you need to put into your answer. So we've got the W palm method here. So the W stands for weather. The P is for physical description. The A is for action. The L is for location, and the M is for mood. We will go into this into more detail over the next couple of slides as well. So a lot of this is just repeating what was on the previous slide, just in a different way. So I won't be going through all of this, but something for you to use during your revision and practice for describing photographs. So, okay, so again, we're beginning with the weather. The green box then carries on describing the people. What do people have as far as hair colour or hair length, for example? In the centre then, we've got the structure, how to begin your sentence. Auf dem Foto gibt es. What can you see? What are there? And again, foreground, background, left, right, all ways of expanding the sentences that you're using. And then you've got the nouns then in the very, very centre. So what is there or what are there? Where is the picture taking place? So at the bottom there, is it in the countryside? Is it by the sea? Is it in a town? And then on the right-hand side in the pink box, what are people wearing? So different clothing. And then at the very end for the mood section, how do they look? Are they looking angry? Are they looking happy? Are they looking intelligent for whatever reason? And then on the next, this is just carrying on really with different verbs, with he and she or they, so the plural on the right-hand side. So if there are more than one person, then you obviously have to conjugate in a different way, usually with en on the end. Okay, so your opinions then at the bottom, really, really important. What do you think about the people? What do you think about the photograph? You do have on this knowledge organizer, though, the reminders of how to create the perfect tense and the future tense. So they will be really important as well. So remember things like ich habe Tennis gespielt. But remember that some verbs in the past tense take sein. So for example, the last but one in the green box, ich bin nach London gefahren. Okay, so remember the ones that take sein. And then in the future tense, ich werde something spielen, for example. Okay, if it's more than one person, wir werden Cola trinken. So we will drink cola. Okay, so this is a further explanation now of this method for remembering in which order maybe to speak about the photograph, and remembering to include every piece of information. So for example, P for people or physical, A for action, L for location, M for mood, and then if it's relevant, W for weather. And this is all really practicing your spontaneous speaking, that you can answer a question and think about a sentence to describe a photograph spontaneously. And it's proving really what can you say spontaneously. Okay, so on the next slide, I have a photograph of a group of people in what looks like an office. And using this palm method, let's just create a few very, very simple sentences as, just a starter for working out how exactly could these methods be used. So if we're looking, first of all, at the P, so we're thinking about the physical and the people. So what is in the photograph? Who is in the photograph? Okay, so really, really simple sentences to begin with. For example, we could say, auf dem Foto sind 4 Personen zu sehen. Yeah, so in the photograph, there are 4 people. So you can see 4 people. Very, very simple, but we have now ticked the P. Okay, so the A, if you remember, is for action. So what are the people that you've just said are there doing? What action are they carrying out? So we could say 1 or 2 sentences for this. So we could say, for example, Sie arbeiten am Computer. Another sentence to describe what they're doing. Es scheint mir, dass der Mann Kaffee trinkt. So it looks as though the man is drinking coffee. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, it could also be tea. It could also be squash. We don't know, but it's es scheint mir. So you're not saying it as an absolute fact, but that's what it looks like to you. So those 2 sentences together take the action. For the L, we're looking for the location. So where do you think the photograph is taking place? So this is my interpretation of that. We could say, ich glaube, sie sind in einem Büro. So I believe they are in an office. Again, I'm not 100% certain, but that's what it looks like. It looks pretty obvious with the computers, and people are dressed, I suppose, in a way that you would expect to see them in an office. So that's the L. And then the M is for mood. How do they look? What adjectives would you use to describe them? But also, what do you think of the photograph? That could also tick the M box. But let's just do one really simple sentence just to give an example. Meiner Meinung nach, which really should be embedded in your head by now. So meiner Meinung nach sind sie glücklich. Yeah, you could go on to say why. You could say because they are smiling, for example, but that's just a really simple starter sentence to begin with for those PALM letterings. So we haven't got the W here because we're in a building, so we don't need to worry about the W for weather. When it's outdoors, obviously, then you would. So let's look at another example of this. This is from the WJC itself. So to look at the P, here we've got auf dem Foto, sorry, let's go back. Auf dem Foto ist eine Familie zu sehen. So we've got the red box there around eine Familie, because that's the people or the physical. Who or what can I see? I'm not 100% certain that they are family, so let's say that they might be friends. So vielleicht auch Freunde. So they could also be friends. Third sentence, it says links arbeitet die Mutter. I'm not 100% certain that she is the mother, but it looks like that to me. And then we've got Ich glaube, der Vater isst einen Snack. So we're saying what the father is doing. And then at the very end, es scheint mir, dass die Familie glücklich ist. Okay, so I'm using an adjective there to describe the family. Okay, so that's my P, that's my people or physical. For the A, so remember now we're looking at the action. So what are the people that I've said are there doing? So I'm using the verb arbeitet for the mother. I'm using ist for the father. And then I'm using the separable verb vorbereitet for the father, because it looks to me like he is eating a snack. So that's why the two boxes are there, because it's the separable verb. So those are the actions taking place in the photograph. For the L, it looks to me as if they are in a kitchen. So I've used die Küche. And where is the kitchen? Im Einfamilienhaus. Okay, so it's saying that it's in the family home. And then I'm using links. So it could also be where exactly in the photograph is something happening. So instead of just saying that there's a mother working on a computer, I've said on the left of the photograph. So links arbeitet die Mutter. So it doesn't have to just be where is the photograph taken as far as in the kitchen. It could be where is what you're describing in the photograph, so that it's on the left or the right, foreground, background. Those all come under the L for location as well. And then the M for mood. We've got ich glaube, because it could be what I'm feeling as I'm looking at the photograph. Meiner Meinung nach also comes under that umbrella, so in my opinion. But also, how does the photograph look to me? So I've used the adjectives modern and glücklich to describe how the people look, in my opinion. So es scheint mir. So it seems to be to me that something is happening, or that somebody feels a certain way. Okay. So this answer, in all, takes around 25 seconds to say. If you said that all in one go, it would take around 25 seconds, which isn't really long enough. So you would need to add a little bit more detail to make your answer that little bit longer. So maybe try and say what people are wearing, that there's somebody at the fridge in the background as well. You could say that you can see the garden through the window. You could say that it looks to be a sunny day. Yeah, the sun is shining through the window. So if you added all those details, then it would be long enough. Okay. So on the screen now, I have an example of a photo card from a past paper. And I've also put in an example of a way that you could describe the photograph as well, okay? So first of all, I would look at the picture and I would think, right, what vocabulary items do I need here? I need to say that there's a child. I need to say that there are two people who look to me to be grandparents. There is also a person cutting up the child's food, so you can't really see their face, but it is obvious that there is a fourth person. If I look closely at the food that they're eating, it looks to be a breakfast, because there are pancakes, scrambled eggs, sausages. So all of those vocabulary items you would need to jot down during your preparation time. Then you would add in, where do you think it's happening? What exactly is happening in the picture? Okay, so let's read through what the example answer is here. So it says, auf dem Foto sehen wir 4 Personen beim Frühstück, so breakfast. Auf dem Tisch stehen Pfannkuchen, Eier, Fleisch und Getränke. Mir kommt es so vor, als wären Sie in einem Restaurant oder Café. Ich glaube, der kleine Junge ist bei seinen Großeltern und vielleicht seine Mutter. Er sieht glücklich aus, weil er lächelt. Ich mag dieses Foto, weil ich es liebe, mit der Familie zu essen. Okay, so if we think about the PALM structure, do we have people or the physical being described? Do we have their actions being described? Have we noted where their location is? And have we described our mood or the people in the photograph's mood as well? Yeah, I think you'd agree that all of those 4 points are covered. You could also add the W. You could say that it looks like it's a sunny day because you can see out of the window, but that's a good basic answer to the question of please describe this photograph. Okay, so we've got all the relevant vocabulary. We've said that there's a little boy. We've said that he's with his grandparents. We've said that it looks like his mother is there. And we've said that it's a breakfast scene. Okay, but we would need to add a little bit more detail in order to get the amount of time used to be slightly longer. Okay, so after you've described the photograph, your teacher will then ask you some questions. The first question is always describe the photo. Okay, then you will be asked further questions, one of which you will have already seen on your exam paper, but then there will be a couple of unseen questions as well, which is where your spontaneous answering comes into play. So these are einige mögliche Fragen, so a few possible questions which could either be written already on the exam paper, or it could be that these are your unseen questions. So it could be, for example, was isst und trinkst du normalerweise zum Frühstück? Okay, so what would you usually eat at breakfast? Okay, sorry, there's a H missing in the word Frühstück there. So you could answer by saying, normalerweise esse ich Müsli mit Milch. Ich trinke oft Tee und manchmal einen Orangensaft. So we've got some time indicators in there. We've got oft, we've got manchmal, normalerweise. So all of these extra pieces of vocabulary increase your complex structures. Okay, you could obviously say what you eat on a school morning versus what you eat on a weekend. Why do you eat differently on a weekend? Maybe you've got more time. What is your favorite thing to eat? What do you not like eating? So all of these are ways to increase the answer given. Okay, and remember to justify your opinions if you give one as well. It could then lead on to speaking about healthy eating. So magst du gesundes Essen? And an answer could be, ich glaube, ich esse viel gesundes Essen, weil es wichtig für meine Gesundheit ist. Okay, so we've given an opinion and we've justified it straight away with the weil structure, and we've remembered to put the verb then to the end of the clause. Ich esse oft Obst, weil es süß ist. So again, I've given my opinion or what's happening, and I've said why as well. Ich esse auch Gemüse, aber ich mag keine Gurken. So we've used a negative there as well, which does increase your range of vocabulary and range of structures that you've used. We're then moving on to the future tense, which you will need to use. So the example here is, was wirst du dieses Wochenende essen? So what will you eat this weekend? And you could say, am Sonntag werde ich Schweinefleisch mit Kartoffeln und Gemüse essen. Ich mag Schweinefleisch sehr, es ist lecker. Okay, so you're giving your opinion and you're saying, you're giving a justified opinion as well. You're justifying what you've just said. Okay, so let's move on. So by now I'm hoping that you've been able to gain some information about in which order to use your describing the photograph sentences and the PALM, maybe W structures. So I'd like you to spend a minute or two taking in all the details of this photo. And if you pause the video now and go back to the knowledge organisers that I gave at the beginning and try and describe this photograph. So pause, note down some pointers, and then try and describe this photograph. Okay, so some of the structures you could have used to answer the first question, was passiert in diesem Foto? Or, you could think about different ways of asking that question, but that's, perfectly a notable question to answer. So what is happening in this photo? So that's where your palm W comes in. Other possible questions then, either for the seen or the unseen questions could be, magst du deinen Geburtstag lieber mit Freunden oder mit deiner Familie feiern? Warum? So do you prefer spending your birthday with friends or with your family, and why? You could also ask, wie hast du deinen letzten Geburtstag gefeiert? So how did you celebrate your last birthday. So that's the perfect tense coming in there. Think as well, try and think of other possible questions that could be asked, especially for the unseen question, and then try and answer those as best as you can. So how could you respond to the was passiert in diesem Foto question? So you could use some of these beginnings of sentences. So auf dem Foto gibt es, auf dem Foto kann man something sehen. What are they doing? So sie machen, sie essen, sie trinken. What are they wearing? So sie tragen. Ich meine, sie sind, ich finde das. So all of these structures are ways of beginning your answers. You could have used them or others from the knowledge organisers. And then some of the questions, let's see how you could go about beginning your answers and then adding your detail. So ich denke, ich meine, ich finde, something ist besser, weil, always remember your weil clauses, and remember that the verb goes to the end of the sentence or to the end of the clause. What is your, what do you enjoy doing? So ich something gerne, mit Freunden, mit meiner Familie, again, weil. And then what are you going to do for your next birthday? So the future tense. So zu meinem nächsten Geburtstag, what are you going to do? So that's the future coming into play there. And then for the past tense, when was your last birthday? So das war vor 2 Monaten. Or das war letztes Jahr. So was it 2 months ago? Was it last year? What did you do? How did you find it? And why? So es war something, weil. So you need an adjective. So why was it fun? Yeah, or why was it not fun? What happened? Did something bad happen? Okay, so other possible questions. What do you usually do for Christmas? So was machst du normalerweise zu Weihnachten? What do you like to eat when you're celebrating? So was isst du gerne auf einer Feier? And then describe your ideal party. So the conditional comes into play here. So beschreibe deine Traumparty. How could you answer those questions? And can you think of any others and how you would go about answering those? Okay, so for the rest of the presentation then, I have again some examples of photographs and some example answers, but I think the best thing for you to do is to look at the photograph, pause the video, try and describe the photograph yourself, and then look at the example answer and see how close maybe your description is. Have you got the relevant vocabulary? Are there any grammatical structures that you could have used that you maybe didn't? There's no perfect answer, there's no right and wrong really, as far as, if you say that there's a grandmother in the photograph, it might not be the grandmother. We don't know. But as long as your vocabulary is, relevant, then that'll be fine. Okay. So this is an example of a family in a supermarket. Some questions that they could be to ask you after that you've described the photograph. So do you like supermarkets? And then this weekend, in which shops are you going to go? And there are some examples of how to answer those questions there as well. And then the same for these example photographs. So there's a man here overlooking a lake. What is he doing? What does the weather look like? So this is one of the first photographs we've seen where it's outside. So you could here, speculate about the season. You could speculate about the weather. So it says here for the weather, it says, das Wetter sieht etwas grau aus und es ist ziemlich bewölkt. So it looks slightly cloudy. But you could say again, why do you like this photograph? Do you like doing this kind of hobby? So you could say, ich liebe dieses Foto, weil ich gerne wandern gehe. Es ist mein Lieblingshobby. Yes, it's my favorite hobby, which is why I like this photograph. Okay, we also have here then some questions that could be asked about that photograph. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of these now. Time is getting short in this presentation, but there's some questions and some example answers here that you could use to elaborate on. This photograph then is of a beach, and you've got people in the sea. You've got people on the beach itself, on the sand. What are they doing? Which season do you think it is, and why? So this is my personal answer to that. But again, try and think of your own sentences and then try and maybe use some of my grammatical structures if you didn't use some of them. And then again, some relevant questions. What do you usually do in your holidays? What did you do during your last summer holidays? And then for the next few photographs, I have the photograph without any example answers now. So it's your turn really to describe this photograph. But then I have put in some example questions that could be asked either as your seen or your unseen questions. So how would you go about describing that photograph to begin with? So there's a lady, she's eating fast food. Think then about how you could go about, elaborating on that, because there's not much to see in this photograph really. It looks like she's outside. It looks to be a little bit cold. She's wearing a coat. You could say that she's got painted nails, for example. Her nails are red. But yeah, then there's not much to see in the photograph. It is quite, it's a bit of a challenge to use enough vocabulary. But you need to say everything. What colour is her coat? She looks to be outside. She looks to be enjoying the French fries that she's eating. Yeah, so try and elaborate as much as you can. But then the questions. So, was isst du gern? What do you like to eat? Was isst du und trinkst du normalerweise? So what do you usually eat and drink? We're then going on to more about healthy eating, healthy lifestyle. So hast du einen gesunden Lebensstil? Warum nicht? Looking on to activities that you like to do. What did you do last weekend to stay fit? What are you going to do next week in order to be healthier? Yes, we've got the comparative here, gesunder zu sein, to be healthier. And then speak about the last time that you've been to a restaurant, maybe. Yeah, so that could bring in talking about going to restaurants with your family or with your friends, which is your favorite restaurant, for example. Okay, and this is exactly the same now then. So we've got a photograph of pollution. So in this photograph, there are no people. Yeah, so that's again quite challenging to describe this photograph, but we are starting to speak about the environment and pollution. So these are some questions which could be asked about that topic after you've described the photograph. We're talking about recycling, we're talking about global warming maybe, speaking about pollution, air pollution, factories. What do you do in order to help the environment, for example? School, this is the next theme. So describe your school, talking about school uniform, talking about subjects which you study, what did you do last week in school, and what are you going to do next year? So talking about future plans, maybe even employment. Are you staying for the sixth form? Why? And then for the last few slides of this presentation, I've put in some screenshots of some real exam papers. So the pupils version for the foundation tier on the left, and the exact same question, but in the higher tier then on the right, just for you to see the difference in complexity of question. So this is the identity and culture broad theme. The first question is always, beschreib das Foto for the foundation tier. For the higher tier, it's was passiert in diesem Foto. So slight difference there as far as foundation is just describe the photo. And on the right is what's happening in the higher tier, what's happening in the photograph. So looking more about the actions, what exactly are the people in the photograph doing, although you should really be using those structures in the foundation as well. So have a look at the differences between the questions and the difference in complexity between the foundation and higher tiers. And that's then carried on in this next slide. We've changed the broad theme to Wales and the world. Home and locality then is the sub-theme. Exactly the same photograph, but slightly different questions again for the different tiers. And the same for this one. So we've got current and future study and employment as the broad theme. So we've got people who look to be in a classroom, in a lesson. So again, we've got beschreib das Foto for foundation and was passiert in diesem Foto for the higher. So as I've said, you will have some unseen questions as well. So over those last 3 slides, I've given you the pupil version only. So When you're looking at this video, try and pause, try and think about what other questions the teacher may ask you on the theme in question. Try and jot those down, try and answer them. And then on the next few slides, I'm going to show you what your teacher would be seeing during your exam, so what the unseen questions would be. So for the this pair of photo cards, so we've got the unseen questions at the bottom each time here. So we've got the unseen questions for the foundation on the left and for the higher then on the right. And as you can see, the higher tier questions are that much more complex as you would expect. And I've got the same thing then for this photograph and for the last. Okay, so have a try and answer those questions. Try and use as complex structures as you can after having described the photographs. Okay. So the last two slides I have are just my top tips to succeed in this question of the oral exam. So during the preparation time, it's really important to try and predict what sort of question your teacher might ask about the theme of the photo. Of course, you need to start thinking about vocabulary to describe the photo, but that's only one part of this question. The other parts are to do with the questions that you answer. So what kind of question will you be asked, do you think? Try and think around the theme in question. Speak as clearly and as confidently as you can. Listen carefully to the tense of the question and match it in your answer. So if your teacher's asked you a question in the past tense, obviously your answer needs to be in the past tense. Okay, and you don't really need to elaborate then and say, last weekend I did this, but next weekend I will do the other. If it's in the past tense, just stick to the past tense, because the next question may well be in the future tense. So you might have shot yourself in the foot by maybe using a structure which you're going to need for the next question then. So stick to the tense of the question. You can ask your teacher to repeat their question, but try to do this in, sorry, the typo there, in German, obviously. You could use Entschuldigung, ich verstehe das nicht, or wiederhole die Frage bitte. They won't be able to rephrase. They will have to say the question in the same way, but you will be able to hear it again, which will give you a few seconds as well to try and gain your thoughts and to try and think about how you're going to go about answering the question. The final top tips, make sure all elements of the task are communicated. So remember about the palm W, which will help you to think about what exactly you need to include in your answer. Try and avoid one-word answers. You must elaborate. You know, if your teacher asks you, you know, do you like celebrating birthdays? If you just say yeah, it's not going to get you very far as the communication and the accuracy marks go. Know your themes. Yeah, you need to practice your themes anyway for the other examinations. So, you know, your reading, listening and writing, obviously you will need to know your themes anyway. And good pronunciation is key as well. Yeah, you must try and pronounce your words as clearly and as correctly as you can. And all that there is left for me to do now is to wish you viel Glück, good luck in your oral examination and for your other examinations as well. If you revise your themes, revise your grammatical structures and your vocabulary, look over your knowledge organisers and just do your best and relax as much as you can in the oral exam. It is quite nerve-wracking, but the teacher, remember, is there to try and guide you through as best as they can. And the examiner will give you as many marks as they can as well, depending on obviously how well you answer. Okay, so viel Glück, good luck everybody, and thank you for joining me during this session. Thank you.